Tonight, you will probably spend at least a few minutes completely alone. Maybe in the shower, maybe lying in bed before sleep pulls you under, maybe sitting in your car after a long day, just staring at the steering wheel. And in those moments, nothing dramatic happens. You breathe, you think, you exist, but underneath that stillness, something ancient is screaming. Your body was never designed for this, not for silence, not for solitude, not for the particular kind of alone that modern life hands you every single day. And the moment you understand what isolation actually does to a human body, you will never look at loneliness the same way again. Here is where most people get it wrong. They think loneliness is an emotion, a feeling you have when you miss someone, or when a Friday night stretches too long. But loneliness is not a feeling. It is a biological alarm system, one of the oldest and most powerful ones your body has. And once you understand what it is actually trying to tell you, you will realize it has been sounding for most of your life. Go back about 2 million years. Your ancestors did not survive alone. They could not. A single human, separated from the group, was a dead human. No fire, no warning calls, no one to share the watch in the dark. The savannah did not forgive solitude. It punished it. And so, over hundreds of thousands of years, your brain developed a very specific response to being alone. A response designed to do one thing: hurt you badly enough that you would go find your people before something else found you first. That response is still running inside you right now. When you are isolated, your nervous system shifts into a state that researchers call hypervigilance. Your threat detection circuits, specifically the amygdala, begin scanning for danger at an elevated rate. You become more reactive. Sounds seem sharper. Shadows seem deeper. Your body is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is protecting a lone human on an open plain. The only problem is that you are not on an open plain. You are in your apartment, and the alarm still goes off. John Cacioppo spent decades studying what loneliness does to the human body. His findings are some of the most unsettling in modern science. He discovered that chronically lonely people show measurable differences in how their DNA expresses itself. Not just mood, not just mental health. The actual behavior of genes involved in inflammation, immune response, and cortisol regulation shifts in people who spend too much time alone. Your body, at the cellular level, reads loneliness as a mortal threat, and it responds accordingly. What does that actually look like inside you? First, your cortisol levels rise. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It is the chemical your brain releases when it detects danger. In short bursts, it is useful. It sharpens your focus. It readies your muscles. But sustained loneliness means sustained cortisol, and sustained cortisol does to your body what a fire does to a house. It accelerates the decay of almost everything. Your cardiovascular system takes the first hit. Cacioppo found that lonely individuals show elevated blood pressure even after controlling for lifestyle factors. The heart quite literally works harder when the mind believes it is unprotected. Over time, that extra work accumulates. The research suggests that chronic loneliness carries a mortality risk comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Not a metaphor, a direct physiological comparison drawn from epidemiological data across hundreds of thousands of people. Your immune system changes too. Researcher Steve Cole at UCLA found that isolated individuals show a specific shift in immune gene expression he called the conserved transcriptional response to adversity. In plain terms, lonely people upregulate genes related to inflammation and downregulate genes that fight viral infections. Your body, expecting a wound from a predator attack, prepares for bacteria, and it lowers its guard against the microscopic threats you are actually far more likely to encounter. You become, biologically, more vulnerable to illness, not because you are weak, because your body is solving the wrong problem, the ancient problem, the one it was built for. But there is another layer to this that almost nobody talks about. Loneliness does not just change your chemistry, it changes your perception. John Cacioppo, building on her late husband's work, found that lonely people literally see the social world differently. In brain imaging studies, isolated individuals show reduced activation in the ventral striatum, the brain's reward center, when looking at images of other people. And they show increased activation in the temporoparietal junction, the region associated with vigilance toward threat. The brains of lonely people are not just sad, they are on guard. They are scanning faces for signs of danger rather than openings for connection. And that shift makes loneliness self-reinforcing. The more alone you feel, the more threatening other people begin to seem. Think about that for a moment. The very mechanism that should drive you back toward connection starts to make connection feel dangerous. Your brain, trying to protect you, begins to isolate you further. It is one of the cruelest loops in human biology, a survival system that, when activated too long, begins to consume the very thing it was meant to protect. But what happens when the isolation is total? When you remove a human being, not just from companionship, but from all social input entirely? The research here is bleak and fascinating in equal measure. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman, in his book Social, draws together decades of data showing that the human brain treats social pain and physical pain in the same neural circuits. The same region of your brain that processes a broken bone processes rejection. The same circuits that register the burning of a wound register the ache of being left out. This was not a design flaw. It was intentional. Your ancestors needed to feel exclusion as a form of pain, not metaphorical pain, actual biological pain, because exclusion was lethal. When researchers have studied people in extreme isolation, whether in solitary confinement, in polar research stations, or in early sensory deprivation experiments, a pattern emerges. Within days, sometimes within hours, the mind begins to manufacture its own company. Voices, shapes, presences in empty rooms. Not psychosis in most cases, but the brain's desperate attempt to populate a social world that has gone empty. You are literally haunted by your own neurons. Your mind, starved of connection, begins to invent it. There is a researcher named Peter Sudfeld who spent years studying what isolation does to cognition. He found that even short-term isolation causes measurable disruptions in complex thinking, emotional regulation, and time perception. The people he studied did not feel the hours pass normally. Time either stretched into something monstrous or collapsed into nothing. The brain, deprived of the social cues it uses to organize experience, begins to lose its grip on the ordinary scaffolding of a day. Your sense of time, it turns out, is partly social. The rhythm of conversation, eye contact, the small interruptions of other people moving through your world. These are not distractions. They are the architecture of your consciousness. Remove them, and the structure begins to shift. And here is the part that reframes everything. None of this means you need to be surrounded by people. The research is not prescribing crowds. Cacioppo was very careful on this point. The damaging factor is not the quantity of social contact, it is the perceived quality. You can feel completely alone in a room full of people. You can feel completely held in the silence of a single genuine connection. What your nervous system is measuring is not proximity, it is safety. It is the felt sense that another mind knows yours, that somewhere in the world, another person holds a version of you. And as long as that signal is present, the ancient alarm stays quiet. The philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote in the 1600s that all of humanity's problems stem from the inability to sit quietly in a room alone. But your body was never designed to sit quietly alone. It was designed to return. Every ache of loneliness, every hour of restlessness, Every night where the silence feels too loud is your biology doing exactly what it was built to do, calling you back toward the one thing that has always kept humans alive: each other. So the next time you sit in your car after a long day, staring at the steering wheel, and the silence starts to press in, understand that the restlessness you feel is not weakness. It is 2 million years of evolution, reminding you that you were never meant to carry this alone. The alarm is not broken. It is working perfectly, and it has one message, ancient and clear: go find your people. Because tonight, when you sit completely alone, something underneath the stillness will still be listening for them.